Today we're going to be reacting to Central Cee's clothing brand, SYNA World. It's not obviously going to be sat on Google Ads itself. These are the type of things that generate cash flow. This is actually a big fucking red flag right here. Then you're in a position where you've already laid out for the stock, and if it doesn't sell, then you're fucked. You know what it is? I usually stay away from brands like this because these artists and fashion boys, I go on the websites and I see no email pop up, no upsells, and I'm just like, do you fucking hate money? And they all act like, oh, we do it for the culture. No. People start ecom businesses to make money. Maybe I'm just the only one who keeps it real. Everybody starts them to make money. The only reason why you don't have all these things on your site is if you don't like making money, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. But they all seem to do hundreds of millions in sales without doing all the ecom stuff that you need to do. So maybe I'm a little bit jealous, maybe I'm a little bit of a hater, but nonetheless, today I'm going to review SYNA World for what it is. I'm going to review what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what they can improve on, and what you can actually borrow and include in your own business if you've got one. I'm going to give you a full breakdown of the product market fit, branding, conversion rate optimization, and the full breakdown of the marketing strategy they are actively using. I'm not holding back in this video. I'm going to give you a full breakdown. Let's get straight into it. So SYNA World, this is a lifestyle-led, artist-driven streetwear label. It's launched by the UK rapper Central Cee. I probably don't need to tell you who Central Cee is. This is a picture of him right here, and he started this brand in 2023. One of the biggest things Central Cee's got to sell his brand is the fact that he's got 15 million fucking Instagram followers. But that doesn't mean that he's doing e-commerce right, and it doesn't mean that that's the only thing that's going to sell his product. So the reason why you need to watch this brand is because this is a version of Cortez, and these two guys are obviously very close friends. So you can see a lot of the things they're doing are actually mirroring over. Now, if you've seen things that are being replicated, then these are probably things that you should take notes on, considering that these guys combined are doing hundreds of millions in direct consumer sales. So when SYNA started out in 2023, they operated with a hype-based D2C model. So D2C stands for direct to consumer. Now, when fashion brands do this, people think that they just do it to sell a load of products. It's not just to sell a load of products. When you have a custom brand, especially a clothing brand, the issue that you have is you have to buy a lot of stock up front. So for any business to go and buy loads of custom product, it's a massive risk to lay down that much money in stock. And plus, if you're buying custom clothing, depending on how customized it is and what type of clothing, the minimum order quantity is usually quite high. So you have to lay a lot of capital up front. Now, when you have to buy loads of stock up front, you also need a warehouse, you also need staff, you also need the marketing to sell the product. You're also going to have the transaction fees, you're going to have the storage, you've got the risk of it getting robbed, you've got the lead times for the product to come. Now, if you're a big rapper and you're sitting on M's, yeah, you're probably going to be okay? But even still, you don't want to be in the position where you're just throwing loads of money away just because you've got it. So that's the reason why you see a lot of these hype-based brands start with that in the initial stage, because what they do is they build a load of organic hype when they can around one set of products, or the first few sets of products, and then they're able to liquidate a lot of that stock straight away, get cash back in the business, and have profit left. So now all of a sudden, they've not been in a very risky position for long because they've actually taken a lot of the cash up front. Now, what you're going to see with stuff like Cortez, they actually took the cash and then went and got the products made with the cash. So they designed the products, they made the sales, and then they went and bought the products. This puts you in a zero risk position because you've already made the sales before ordering the stuff. Because if you order the stuff first, then you're in a position where you've already laid out for the stock, and if it doesn't sell, then you're fucked. Okay, so the amount of money that you've got to put in for clothing brands, clothing brands, it's one of those things where if it hits, and it hits big, and the valuation for clothing brands, especially e-commerce, is very, very big. But you've got a lot of risk getting into there. So this is why there's a very high barrier of entry to get in. But when you do these little things, you can actually work around that. And that is why you see brands like Cortez and SYNA World banging, because these guys are using these tricks to their advantage. And you'll see the same with like Early Supreme and Early Yeezy, for example. SYNA has got a specific aesthetic, and that is oversized, comfort, bold iconography, and it's always showing that SYNA branding, quite a popular design, when they've got it across the crotch and across the chest. And they've also got a little bit of a different toggle for hoodies and shorts that stands out quite a bit, that rope coloured toggles. They're very logo centric, but you're going to see that across UK streetwear. streetwear brands. You're going to see it with Trapstar, you're going to see it with Cortez, you're going to see it with Supreme. Massive logo across the chest, logo across the pants. This type of stuff is very popular in the UK and definitely Western streetwear culture. So part of this strategy, what people use, especially for social media, you've got your main profile that drives all the traffic, just like Central C's brand does. But what they've also got is they've got private Instagram groups. Now, Central C has one called CCTV, and this is where he takes people, they're going to be in this group and feel a little bit more exclusive, and then they do the drop through that group first. Now, when you do this and you speak to a group of people one-on-one, you've got to think, you only need 1,000 people. If you can build a connection with 1,000 people, right, and 800 of them end up buying something, every single product drop that you do, you're going to be making hundreds of grands per product, just because you've taken the time to warm up these people. Now, when you've got a brand like Central C, 15 mil followers, it's going to be a lot easier to do that. What you'll see is you see these big personal brands or these big rappers or these famous people, they end up coming out with an e-commerce brand. Now, they all eventually go to bring out a D2C brand because these are the type of things that generate cash flow in massive amounts. And these are the kind of things that value at the 10, 20, 30, 50 million pound if you need to sell it. So they all end up going to these D2C brands. And usually for an artist, it's going to be a fashion brand, right? So that's why they all end up going to this. And when you've got a profile like Central C, the benefit that you have is you've got that much of a pull where you can create an organic influencer ecosystem. And that is where people start talking about the product and selling the product for you. You're going to get things like resellers popping up, selling it on secondary platforms and social media, and this is going to build the hype a lot for your brand. Now, all this guy has to do is post a picture wearing the product that's about to pop up, and people are going to be going crazy for it. Now, this is actually a big fucking red flag right here, right? So you search SYNA World, the first result on Google is not even his fucking website. So this is either fakes or a reselling site, but this is somebody who's taking the majority of the traffic. These are top 1 on Google. So your SEO is fucked already, right? Like, this is a big, big problem. Because what you're going to be having is, you're going to be having people wanting to buy from Central C. And look, I'll just say it how it is, right? The general consumer is not that intelligent. They don't know what to look out for. They don't know how to tell the difference. So when they see a website with the correct URL or a roundabout and the logo on the website, then they're just going to trust it. So what you're going to have is, you're going to have people going onto this website, even though the photos look like this, they think it's legit, and they're going to be buying these products. Now, the problem with this is, people are going to be getting straight scammed a lot. And this is number 1 in Google. So this is a big problem for your brand. This is a big problem for your reputation. And if you don't get this right, this can ruin your entire brand. I don't care how big you are. If you have enough people going from this, because the problem is with these guys, they're not running Google ads. Okay, they're not running any advertisement. It's all organic. So if somebody goes to Google, which is a normal port of call for most people, you're going to go to this website and be shopping fakes. And yeah, you can get these websites shut down, but right now, this website is not shut down. You can go buy from this website right now. So yeah, this is not good. This is not good. When you go onto the actual website, this is what you see. It's easy to tell why Central C's ended up starting his own brand. I mean, he's got all this traffic, all this influence, all these followers. He's seen the sort of level that UK streetwear brands get to. I mean, Trapstar's valued at over £10 million, I believe. Cortez, they posted a picture on Instagram, he did 1 million orders. If you've got an AOV of £100, which will be completely normal for that brand, they've done 100 million in sales. And the valuation of these businesses, it's usually a 5x multiple. You know, it's a lot of money, right? These brands are worth a lot of money. If you want a real legacy brand and something with real reach, you start a clothing brand, because you've got, it's like a marketing campaign that's going on across the entire world, right? You've got people wearing big logos of your product simultaneously across the planet. This is where you really get your name and your brand solidified. So when you get straight onto the website, first thing I see with this is like a Supreme website. It's the same exact font, it's the same exact style, and it just takes you into this product layout straight away. So there's not even a homepage. There's a little bit of a difference with these type of brands, because they build a little bit of hype and they're doing stuff in drops. You've got that scarcity value. So people are not really looking for the sizing charts. People are not really looking for the trust, because if they've got this website and they've gone through the right channel, i.e. Central C's Instagram, they already trust the website, they already trust the product, and they're just looking to buy something. But straight away, website's pretty decent, Photos are decent, Supreme style, very streetwear style. And I mean, this brand, I think they started doing drops, but I don't think they do drops anymore because all this stock is shoppable right now. And when you look onto the product page, it's pretty plain stuff, man. It's pretty plain stuff. Like, ideally, you need a few more photos for that type of price point. You want some models wearing it and stuff like that. But again, it depends what type of the market you're wanting to serve. So you can do a lot less if you've got a lot more hype, and that's the thing. So these guys, I believe, they're more valued towards hype, but the problem with that is you can't sell 24 hours a day. What you'll see is you'll see new and up-and-coming clothing brands all want to do these hype drops, but they don't understand why they're doing the hype drops. The hype drops are there so you're not caught out from cash flow. These are there to get the cash back into the business and liquidate that first investment in stock. You want to do this until you've got enough capital to have a wide range of stock, because ultimately you just cannot be having your store shoppable 24/7. The time just doesn't add up, right? If you've got an Ecom store open all year round, it can be shopped and bought 24 hours a day, and at scale with a little bit of paid traffic, it will. There's two sides to it. Ideally, you want to do both. What you want to have is you want to have a plan of, like, we're doing this to build the cash up, and then we're going to start opening permanently, because these guys now, they've not sold all the stock, they're open permanently, but they're not treating it like a real e-commerce business because they're not running any ads on Facebook. They've got no Google shopping ads, and they've actually got fake websites that are showing up before. So this is a big problem in my opinion. So yeah, when you go onto the website, there's no email pop-up. Look guys, if you're doing a drop brand, this is shocking. If you're doing a drop brand, or any brand for that matter, you have to have an email pop-up, because what you're gonna have is, you're gonna have people coming to your website, they're ones that are window shopping, which by the way is usually 97%, considering that the average conversion rate is 3%. You've got 97% of people who don't buy there and then. Now when these people bounce, a large majority of them are gone forever. Now if you can convert 3% of the people who bounce, then you've doubled your sales off of 3%. Now a good way to do this would be to capture their email address. Usually you want a 5 to 8 to 10% capture rate on the email address. Now this puts the power in your hands, because you're not relying on that person just finding your website again, because you can get straight into their inbox, you can send them segmented messages, and you can send them reminders. Because what you're gonna have on your website is, you're gonna have people who are scrolling on fucking Instagram when they're on the toilet, or when they're cooking, or while they're watching TV, then their advert comes on and they forget what they were looking at. But that person, if they were there for 5 more minutes, they would have bought. And when you've got email sequences and flows set up, you can hit those people up automatically. Look, what I would do personally for this brand, the first thing I would do is get a motherfucking email pop-up on there. Like, come on. An email pop-up is going to capture 5 to 10% of the traffic email address. Now, this is then going to take them through a welcome series. That's going to show them an email 4 to 5 times. Now, this doesn't sound like a lot to some people, but what you have to understand is, if you're paying for an advertisement, people buy from seeing something about your brand. So whether that's an advertisement, whether that's an email, whether that's a leaflet, whether that's you walking out on the street and going and telling someone about it, all it is you're notifying people of this brand, and the way in which you do it leads to sales. Okay, so whether people are getting 5 emails in a row or 5 adverts that you paid for, they're just seeing the brand. The customer just sees the brand, and then that takes them to the website to purchase. That's all it is. Now, the benefit of having the email is you can take a customer through something called a welcome flow, and that's going to be 4 to 5 to 6 ideally emails, educating them about the brand, the product, the service, and then giving them a little discount, something like that. Now, the benefit of that is that's all automated, that's going on 24/7, and it costs pretty much nothing. Well, when you compare that to paid advertising, when you start scaling up paid advertising, you obviously have to pay every time a customer sees your service. So what you might be doing is, you might be sending money to Facebook to show a customer an advert 5 times to make a purchase or not make a purchase, whereas you could just be sending an email as well, and that's going to be going off automatically, and it costs pretty much nothing. So the first thing I would do is get a pop-up form, get the welcome flow. This is going to be your highest performing email flow. The second thing that I would do, I would add an abandoned checkout and abandoned cart sequence. This is going to add people into a list that takes them down another flow, which basically gives them a reminder of why they should purchase. This is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. This is where you get real leverage in e-commerce. And anybody who runs email marketing properly will tell you, you should be doing 40 to 60% of your sales through email marketing. Now, this gets even more important if you are running a completely organic channel, because otherwise the only traffic that you're getting is you're hoping people to find you on Google or off of social media. But what you want to be doing is you want to be taking that customer's information and you want to be sending them targeted emails based on an action that they've taken or a product that they've shown interest in. I am a big proponent of having a brand on social media, but the problem is with social media, you cannot do specific content. You cannot target people based on behaviors. Email marketing, you can do that. So if you are running an organic fashion brand, it's a good idea to do that. This is where these guys are fucking up. And look, they're leaving a lot of money on the table. And look, I get you want to be this cool drop supreme brand, but you're leaving money. And if you're doing 100 grand a month, which they will be doing a lot more, then you're going to be leaving an extra 40 grand a month on the table. So it's a lot of money. And also, when you start building this email list, that is where you get a lot of the commercial value when it comes to value in your business, because essentially what the email list is, that is customer data. And unlike your social media following, unlike your YouTube subscribers, unlike any of the likes and comments and whatever you get, the only data that you own is your email data. And when it comes to selling the business or getting it valued, what people are going to look at when they're buying a business, they're going to be looking how many people are on this email list. Because if they have a lot of people on the email list, that means that when they take control of the business, they can market to a big group of people already and they own that list. They can go take it, do whatever they want with it. So yeah, I mean, the site's pretty clean. It's a supreme style, you know. There's a lot of things that you could add to it, but at the end of the day, it depends where the customers are coming from. If they're coming from Central C's Instagram, or if they're coming from the actual brand page, which most of them will be likely coming from because they're not running ads, they're not showing up on Google, they're not running Google ads, so they are going to be coming from these pages. They've already sort of been pre-qualified, like they already kind of trust it, so you don't need to go too crazy on all the standard ecom practices. Like you'll see me rip to shreds some people on this channel, but you've got to understand that whatever you do in ecom, it's got to be suited towards the strategy that you're using to get customers, and also it's got to be targeted towards the type of customer that you're selling to. All right, so if you're selling through Google, and let's say I'm selling this Apple mouse, there's going to be fucking 100 people selling Apple mouses, isn't there? So if I'm just selling this on a shit website and I've got no return information, I've got no benefits and bonus features and buy now pay later options, advertising through Google, well, I'm going to have a competition of 5 to 10 other people or brands that are selling the same product. So if I'm doing less than them, I'm going to be making less sales. However, if you're a custom brand and you're a one-of-one and you're a streetwear aesthetic and you're selling through drops, it's obviously a lot different to what you have to do. So you've got to look at what's your brand, what's your positioning, who are you trying to sell to, and what's the marketing strategy that you're using. This guy can run Google ads. He's not obviously going to be sat on Google ads himself, Central C. He doesn't give a fuck about this. He just says, here, do this, take the money, take the cash, and he just puts it all together. I mean, it's 15 mil followers, but the amount of traffic is a lot more than 15 million. So this is a massive, massive media channel. Now look, you don't have to have 15 million followers to be making hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars with an ecom fashion brand. You don't have to have that. Just, you can replicate a style. One of the reasons why this does so well is because he is living the aesthetic. You'll see me on this channel time and time again with fashion. People buy fashion in order to be connected to a certain lifestyle. This is why you get Nike paying hundreds of millions to CR7 to make boots, because people are buying boots because they want to be associated with Cristiano Ronaldo. People buy fashion and products to be like the people and the lifestyle on the other side. Whereas usually people buy products that solve problems. By the way, guys, if you run an independent ecom fashion brand and you're looking to take advantage of your most profitable channel, which is your email marketing, then simply go to my profile, click this link in the description, and it'll take you through to a web page that explains a little bit more about what we do. We only work with fashion brands, and we don't work with just any, so there'll be a couple of questions just before you go ahead and book a call to actually find out whether you're a right fit for us. And if we are, we'll look forward to hearing from you. This video will explain a little bit more about what we do, so give it a quick watch and I'll see you on the call. So if I'm buying this MacBook, for example, the reason why I bought it is because I want a faster laptop, and that was my main problem. I'm editing videos, I'm doing work on it, I need a faster laptop. So I'm buying this as a solution to a problem. Although with fashion, unless it's something like a waterproof jacket. You know, with streetwear, you're not solving any problems with it. So you've got to be sort of portraying a lifestyle that people are buying into. And that is obviously, this is the lifestyle Central C is living. And you don't have to be Central C to make money. I'm just saying this is the position that they're going from, but you can replicate this in your own way. You know, the brand's pretty cool, but look, it's not that much. You know, they've not got that many photos, just standard flat lays. Ideally, what you'd want is you want a model on. So you want to show the front and the back of the photo, that's enough, but then you just want the model on. Maybe you want even the GSM of the cotton. It depends how deep you want to go into it. For a t-shirt, you don't need as much information. The higher the price point, the more information that you want ideally. The type of products, it's very clear of the type of aesthetic. It's sort of this streetwear, like, you know, like this shell suit is like the Nike TN type style of shell suit where they've got the TN logo, where that SYNA logo is. Yeah, custom zips. And look, there's a lot of detail on this jacket. Ideally, you want to be showing that in depth, and especially at the price point, you want to be showing it. And one other thing, the colours are very important, because with a streetwear brand, one thing that you don't get in streetwear is you don't really get crossover for shoe brands. You know, with shoe brands, it's Nike, it's Adidas, it's Asics. Especially with something like Nike. Nike have OG trainers that you can't go and make a version of like that. Nike have just done it differently. So like you see this tracksuit here, neon green, black and grey tracksuit. This is based off a popular colorway of a product made by Nike, which is the Neon Air Max 95. This is streetwear. They know that that's a popular shoe in streetwear, and they know it's a popular colorway made by that iconic shoe. So that's why they've made a product to go with that, right? And that is what you're going to see throughout this. These are sort of the same thing with the TN colors. And again, look, there's not that much originality with the brand, I must say. This is sort of that Cortez design where you've got it across the pant. Although you can argue that Cortez got it off Billionaire Boys Club, which they did. Like, they were the first ones to do it. So yeah, it's just a style. I mean, in fashion, everybody copies everyone. But one thing that you see with this is, you see this is a style of the brand. It's got this unique rope lace for the toggles of the pants. And you've also got a little bit of embroidered detail in there. I believe that's embroidered, yeah. And look, this is what you want to see ideally on an e-com site. This is good because you've got upsell on the product page. Ideally, what you want is, you want a little add to cart button here, because the problem is, if you're just browsing and you click here, you're off of the other page. So you've got to manually add to cart. And these sound like tiny little things, right? But customers are lazy. They're shopping when they're in bed, all this type of shit. The easier you can make it for that customer to add stuff to the basket, the more that they're going to end up spending. And at scale, you can really see the difference of this. So look, ideally what you want as well, the thing that's really going to drive more conversions with a site like this, you want these upsells. These are called upsells, where you're upselling another product. You want these in the actual cart, because that's going to make it easier to be sold again. And you're going to have a lot of customers that are going, you know what, why not? So that's two things that are missing. That's going to affect how much customers are spending. It's going to affect your average order value. So that is two things that you definitely want. Product page is pretty plain. You know, ideally you want some more information down here. You want some lifestyle photos, but they just don't have that. They just don't have that, and it's bad to see. So yeah, pretty plain site overall. I'm not going to lie, but they've just got that overarching benefit of the massive traffic source, which is coming from the Instagram. But look, if you don't have the upsells, if you don't have the email marketing, if you don't have the SMS marketing, if you don't have the data collection, if you don't have the SEO set up properly so your site's actually showing up first on Google, you're leaving money on the table. And this isn't just a little 5% bump in revenue. These things are going to add up to a 50%, a 60%, a 70% bump in revenue, because if people can't find your product on Google, you're in trouble. You're in trouble, and it's not that hard to fix. It's really not that hard to fix. Overall, product market fit, I'd say it definitely fits. I mean, look, this guy is known for his personal brand, for his style. He's created a product that fits his style. Product market fit, it hits streetwear. He clearly knows what he's doing. He's good friends with Cortez. It all adds up. He's giving them clear advice. There's a lot of similarities with the brands. I wouldn't be surprised if he had some involvement in this at a high level. So product market fit, very high. Let's just give that a, write it down on my sheet of paper. Let's just give the product market fit 7 out of 10. Then you've got marketing strategy. Now look, the marketing strategy, it's fucking lazy. Let's just call it what it is, it's lazy. Now, does Central C need the cash? No. Yeah, is he bothered? Probably not, right? But to be honest, if you've got the finances, you want your brand to do well, you want more products to be sold, why not just invest in a little bit of an ecom team, get an advisor, and just start doing this stuff properly? I mean, the marketing strat, I've got to give it a 3 out of 10 because what it is it's lazy. Like, he knows that he's going to make all the sales he wants just by pushing it on his personal Instagram, post a few stories, that's all he needs to do. So yeah, it's lazy, but when you're going on Google and the first result is a fake website, that is going to cause some real serious issues for your brand. So look, I'm going to give that a 3 out of 10. Conversion rate optimization, simple website. Look, everything works, it's fast, it's clean, but there's just no extra information, there's no product shoots. It's pretty plain, so yeah, I mean, it's not really doing much for me, to be honest. So I'm gonna give that a 4 out of 10, to be honest. And then the overall branding. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not really me. I don't personally like this, but look, each to their own. What the fuck do I know? I'm just some random guy on YouTube. Like, these guys are doing millions and millions with it. So I'm not the type of guy to say that this is good branding or bad branding, even though I fucking hate UK streetwear culture, big logo stuff. I don't like that personally, but that's just my personal opinion. However, the brand stands out. The type of products that they're selling with the toggles, that's a new thing that I've not seen before. All the brand fits together. You don't see this often. You know what it is. I've never looked into the brand, but I know what it is. So that means that it's shown quite a lot. They did pop-up events, pretty cool branding. It's a different type of product. It definitely fits his aesthetic. So look, the branding, I'm gonna give that a 7 out of 10. You can't complain with that. But yeah, that's the overall score. Look, there's a lot of improvements that can be made on here if you wanted to make more money. But Central C, you don't need to make more money. He's rich as fuck. However, if you want to just make tens and tens of hundreds and hundreds of thousands extra with your brand, which in my opinion, you can't ever have too much money, then those are the changes that I'd make. So shout out Central C. You need to hire an email marketer, so shout me, shout your boy. Anyway, there's gonna be a video coming up right about here. You wanna take a watch straight after this one. Till next time, what?